Yolikis, and welcome to Book 101 Review. Book 101 is all about the books that I read for the last 40 years. And today I have my special guest. She is a psychotherapist, yoga, psychology, philosophy teacher, and of course, an author too, and the author of the book Echoes of the Timeless, no other than Miss Catia Batalha.
Hi, Daniel. Thank you for much. Thank you so much for having me.
You're most welcome, Miss Katia. And sorry, I mispronounced your last name. Can you please introduce more about yourself?
Yes, so my name is Catia. I'm a psychotherapist, yoga, psychology, and philosophy teacher. I'm a holistic coach, and essentially, I aim to help people on their path to healing and to awakening and to transforming themselves into reaching their full potential. Yeah.
Yes, and thank you so much for sharing your knowledge and wisdom to the world, Miss Katia. Thank you. And today let's talk about your book itself. Echoes of the Timeless suggests a universal truth resonating across time and culture. How did you come to recognize these echoes within the distinct tradition you explored, and what is the core timeless truth they are all point toward?
That is a really good question. Well, I think each person will have to ask themselves that question. The concept behind the book is that there are echoes inside of us that point towards something timeless, something that we all know but often don't remember. And it's a story of young woman who is feeling very broken, very hurt and sad and lonely and unwell in life. And she feels like there's something more to life, but she doesn't quite know what. So she doesn't have any guidance, and her life is basically pain after pain. And this is her journey of awakening and healing. She goes through many journeys, many experiences, and finds yoga and the yoga psychology, yoga philosophy, and she starts to discover more about herself and others in the universe. And yeah, along the way, she learns about the chakras and the journey of what is inside of her that needs to be different for her to become peaceful and happy, joyful, and balanced.
Happy and joyful indeed. And your journey implies a profound catalyst, a moment of fracture that necessitated this deep search for healing. What is the breaking point or deep longing that compelled you to seek answers across continents rather than a single tradition?
Well, there were many points of Sophia's life that were breaking points. She came from a family where it was a very strict conservative family, where she felt very oppressed and like she couldn't really be herself. There was no space for freedom, for creativity, and self-discovery. So that in itself was difficult and traumatic. And then that led to her not really understanding what love was about. So love must be control and oppression. So then she starts to look for boyfriends that do that to her, because of course that must be what love is about. So then she enters abusive relationships and goes through emotional abuse, sexual abuse, all sorts of things are happening to her, but she doesn't really know what to expect and doesn't have any kind of guidance. So she just goes deeper and deeper into the hole. And at some point, she starts drinking and she enters this self destructive phase because nothing really means anything to her. And at that point, she's pretty sexually traumatized, and therefore she's in a relationship, but she never wants to have sex, and her partner, is not too happy about that. And she's talking to a friend of hers, and the friend is like, "Hey, how about you go to there's this school. They have some teachings, and I don't know what it's about, but it seems to be pretty transformative." And and she goes to that school, and when they start teaching her what life is about, what the universe is about, how to connect with herself, her body, her mind, her heart, her soul, nature around her, how to communicate with others, how to connect with others. When she starts to discover all of that about herself, then she starts to understand that life is actually a lot deeper than she realized and a lot more meaningful. And through this journey, she goes into this course and they travel many countries because each country has a particular medicine to it, a particular magic to it. Some countries are, like India, full um, of cultural richness and yoga and monkeys and cows on the street and chaos. And some countries are full of extreme peace, like Nepal and the Himalayas. And I mean, India is huge, is full of everything, but I'm just talking about the experiences she goes through. So then she's very peaceful, in certain countries, and some countries might have ocean medicine, and some might have indigenous medicine. New Zealand is a country where there's um, Maori people who teach her very, very beautiful things about the land and about community, about what it's like to work together for a goal, about what it feels like to be part of the land as opposed to owning land. So each country she goes to has a little bit of magic and wisdom to teach her, and that's how she starts to awaken the different parts of herself. Does that make sense?
Makes sense, Miss Katia, makes sense. You travel geographically continents, but also inner landscape. Which journey proved more challenging and transformative? Navigating the internal world of different cultures or navigating the internal world of your own psyche and conditioning?
Definitely, the psyche was much harder. It's easy to travel different continents, different lands. You just have to sort of go. But to navigate the internal is hard. To really look at what's in your mind, the conditioning, the negativity, the patterns that all those patterns that you're exposed to in the beginning of your life, whether it's control and oppression or whatever the patterns are, you end up integrating those patterns in a way, as much as you rebel against them. But to some degree, we internalize those patterns. So as much as we may hate them, we end up finding them inside ourselves. And those are the greatest battles, the egos that we have that are in the way of freedom and expression and us reaching our potential.
Freedom indeed, Miss Katia. In weaving together wisdom from diverse traditions, what is the most surprising commonality you discovered at the heart of seemingly different practices?
I've studied many esoteric traditions, and what I found is that, you know, and religions and all sorts of things. I've spent a good part of my life trying to just see where is the wisdom, in the different traditions, and whether it's uh, Christianity or whether it's Gnosticism or it's yoga or it's Hinduism or indigenous cultures or it's Buddhism. I've just dabbled in different things. And at the end of the day, I find the same thing, which is um, it's about the values that are inside of us, of honesty, of truthfulness, of kindness, of love, compassion, integrity, um, helping each other, the values that essentially we feel good about. Those are at the core of every single tradition at the end of the day. That's what I found.
Well, interesting culture indeed. Were there ever points where the teachings or philosophies of two traditions directly contradicted each other? How did you navigate the dissonance to find cohesive personal truth?
Well, yeah, for sure. I found some things that apparently uh, can look contradictory. And I think what that is that each tradition, whether this is like a spiritual tradition or it's something like Western psychology, but each tradition starts to create a framework for itself. Like uh, for Christians, you've got the Bible, and Jesus went through certain experiences, did certain teachings, and so they say, and then they start creating churches, and they say, this is the way. But at the end of the day, it's not about that structure. It's about what's behind the structure. Like, what was Jesus living, for example, or what was Buddha living? And so ultimately, it's about what is behind the curtain. So what was created behind the framework. So, for example, I'm a psychotherapist as well, and so I studied psychology, and at the same time, I had my yoga background, and a lot of things were directly opposite. So contradicting each other fully. So, for example, psychology says that attachment is very good. Secure attachment is what we want because then we heal from previous relationships that were toxic. Whereas yoga would, or even Buddhism would say, attachment is the root of suffering, because if we are attached, then we need things to be a certain way. We need people to be a certain way and to please us in a certain way. So that causes suffering. So we've got just there two values that directly contradict each other. But at the end of the day, if we go behind that framework, what both of them want is the ability to relate in a healthy way, in a loving way, that doesn't hurt us or the other. So that's what I mean. Sometimes you need to go a little bit deeper to find what is the actual truth behind the framework that is being presented.
The actual truth, for sure. And you likely encountered many guides. What define a true teacher for you on this path versus someone merely imparting information?
Well, I have a very particular view about that because having traveled India and such countries, there's, gurus every 50 meters. And not every teacher adds the same value than the others. And for me, the way that I can see if, or I perceive that it's a really highly elevated teacher or not, is by looking at how do they live their life, how do they treat others around them, what actions are they taking, how are their disciples, are they kind and generous and peaceful, or are they selfish and stressed? So yeah, sometimes we have a teacher and they look all enlightened when they're teaching a class, and then they go away and they treat people poorly, and they're judging people, etc. Whereas some spiritual teachers, I'm just thinking, for example, there's a spiritual teacher in India called Amma. I don't know if you've heard of her. She's known for her hugs, very loving hugs. And she doesn't even have many theoretical teachings. Some teachers have hours and hours and days and years of teachings to pass on. And for her, it's more about the lived experience. She's an embodiment of love, and her every move is about embodying that love. So it doesn't take many words, but you look at her and she's walking the talk. And I think that's what makes a true teacher.
A true teacher indeed. And Miss Katia, tell us, true transformation often requires facing our shadow. How did encountering different culture frameworks help you see and integrate parts of yourself that your native culture may have encouraged you to suppress?
Well, I think every culture was uh, had its own gifts and its own shortcomings. So, for example, I'm thinking in terms of Portugal and New Zealand, because I've lived in both countries. The first part of my life was spent in Portugal, in Europe, and then the second one in New Zealand. And so, Portugal, for me, it's a culture that is extremely honest and direct. Like they'll tell you exactly what they think, no filters, and good or bad. And New Zealand, for example, is kind of the opposite of that. It's a very, very kind, thoughtful, considerate culture, and would do anything not to offend or hurt the other. So New Zealand is constantly thinking about the other and how not to hurt them, whereas Portugal is more thinking about communication of one's personal truth, and being in integrity with yourself. And so for me, like, no culture is right or wrong, but just in that example, if one culture is too direct, that's in one way it's beautiful because it shows expression, and um, and through expression you see the person fully, but at the same time it's very unkind and can be really, really harsh and hurtful. Whereas the New Zealand way is very kind and considerate of the other, but at the expense of suppressing oneself, suppressing one's truth, and so people can live in a way that's very kind of in the shadows, kind of hiding themselves, and not really standing up for themselves because they don't want to hurt the others, so they hurt themselves in the process. So for me, I find myself in the middle of those two things. Like, I want to be honest and be able to express and to set boundaries and to stand up for myself, and at the same time not hurt the others, as much as I can control that, which is of course limited. But yeah, so I have to look at all those parts of myself, and what's in my shadows, and see the parts that can be really harsh and direct, and I just want to say my truth. but also look at the parts that are people pleasing and, oh, I don't want to hurt the other, so I will just sacrifice myself and find myself amongst all that. Does that make sense?
Makes sense, Miss Katia. Makes sense. So, as an author, what are your short term and long term goals?
Sorry?
As an author, what are your short term and long term goals?
Oh, well, my short term goal is for the book to reach whoever needs whatever teachings are in there. Yeah, I would love for people to share it, to read it, to benefit from it. And long term, I am starting to translate it into different languages. So at the moment, I'm translating it to Portuguese, and then yeah, then we'll go from there. And I've just finished the audiobook, so that was a short term goal, but I've just finished that. So yeah, that's kind of what's in my mind right now.
Good luck to your goals and looking forward for more success. Miss Katia, and what would be your piece of advice for those people out there who want to be like you?
A piece of advice.
Yes. I want people want to be
Um,
an author like you.
what would I tell them? I would say um, find what's really alive for you. Like, what is your medicine? What are your gifts? What is it that when you talk about it makes your eyes shine a little bit brighter and makes your heart tingle? I think those things that really mean a lot to us and create inspiration are the things that we should write about because they're directly related to our soul calling and our journey. And yeah, and those are the things that I think when they come to life in a piece of work, whether that's a movie or book or anything, awaken a little bit of that in other people too.
Well, thank you for that advice, Miss Katia. And can you please recommend a book or books that influence your journey?
Book. Well, I really loved The Alchemist. I'm sure someone's recommended that already.
Yes, most of the time.
Most of the time.
By
So,
Paulo Coelho.
yes, exactly. Um, and I really love The Celestine Prophecy, which is again along the same lines, like a little spiritual journey of insights and wisdom and awakening. And The Peaceful Warrior as well. That as again same thing, like different journey, but full of wisdom and teachings. Yeah.
Well, thank you for the recommended book, Miss Katia. And I hope our listeners will read it too. And tell us when a reader finishes the last page of Echoes of Timeless, what is the primary feeling or call of action you hope resonates within them?
Uh, I guess from the feedback that we've received so far, I think the book has been a somewhat transformative experience for people. Just not just something they read, but something that awakens a part of them that was dormant. You know, something of their potential that was a little bit asleep and that comes to life. And that's different for every person, depends on their journey, because the book touches on many different aspects of life. It goes through the chakras. So basically, it brings in the wisdom of all the different parts of life. So it'll be different for each person that reads it, but hopefully everyone will get something out of it.
Indeed, and thank you so much for sharing your knowledge and wisdom to the world, Miss Katia. Thank you, thank you, thank you. And before we wrap up our discussion for today, I'm inviting you to please do listen to my other podcast, people. My other podcast, because my abstract essay is already in fifth season, abstract poetry in second season, and my book 101 review in fifth season too. Comedy 101 in third season, and my food 101 in its sixth season this December. Geography 101 Love Letters, Movie 101 Review, Music 101 our fourth season. And Science 101, Sex 101 in second season. And my baby podcast, Mental Health 101, Law 101, Bible Verses 101, Entrepreneur 101. Please listen to them wherever you listen your podcast. So, Miss Katia, having having completed this monumental journey and integrated into this book, what does your own path lead you now?
Well, my internal reality is current. I think our external reality always matches our internal reality. And I guess when I was anxious and upset most of the time, I lived in an external reality that also matched that chaotic city life, busy. And now, after all the internal transformation that I've been through, um, I live on an island off the coast of New Zealand. I have beautiful, loving friends that are spreading their magic. I live a healthy life with, like, in the middle of bush and ocean around. Yeah, I'm just, I feel so blessed with my life and so humbled by how much the earth supports me, spirit supports me, and I just live surrounded by beauty. So the present moment is perfect. Yeah, there's not much more that I can say. Yes, I want something different because there's no need for that. It's already perfect.
Perfect indeed. And so, Miss Katia, can you please invite our listeners to support your echoes of the timeless?
Sure, yes, please. The book is everywhere you can find books. It's there, Amazon, Audible, Kobo, etc. Feel free to look at my website, catiabatalha.org, and or add me on social media. I'm everywhere as well. Yeah, and thank you so much, Daniel, for your podcast and yeah, this conversation that we had. Really
No
loved it.
worries. No worries at all, Miss Katia, because this podcast is created for you. Yes, people, let's support Miss Katia because if you support her, for sure more and more empowering echoes will rise. So, Miss Katia, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you.
More to come, people. See you soon.